If you're looking to make solar simple, give Ron Domenico with AD Energy a call. All-day energy made simple. Solar solutions with zero down, options to lease or finance, and roofs and trees are no issue. Call Ron Domenico at 609-226-2802 and tell him you saw him on the Sports Box.
Well, hello again, and welcome to the show that maybe you'll never have to see your proctologist for. This is a Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters. It's right here. I am Mike Coletta, a.k.a. Hampton Mike, along with my partner, Brian, the Ranger. It's hard, Brian. How are you today? There's no need for words. There's no words to be said.
Hi, everybody.
Today we're going to talk a little NFL news and notes, and the big story is Marshawn Lynch. That's right. Big Marshawn Lynch coming back, going with the Raiders. Problem is that the Seattle Seahawks still have his rights, so they got to work that out. But, Brian, we talked about this a little bit. I think it's a good move if the guy's in shape and he can still play. If he's on the downside of his career, he's not in good shape, this could be backfire for the Raiders.
Marshawn Lynch turns 31 later this month.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Running back is not a position that you normally see guys that are, even close to 30.
And take off a year.
Doing really well.
Yeah.
Took a year off.
Yeah.
I really don't understand this move from the Oakland Raiders standpoint. Now, do I think the compensation to Seattle is going to be extravagant? No, I don't. You're probably looking at a conditional pick or something. I can't imagine. We're talking like a late round pick on top.
They're rolling the dice here. I mean, they're definitely rolling the dice, hoping he comes back and is the man.
Well, I mean, they better make sure they have somebody else on this roster. Obviously, Tavius Murray went off to Minnesota.
Yep.
I don't know who else really they can count on there right now.
Yeah.
But again, the guy's going to be 31 at the start of the season.
Yeah.
So what are you really expecting him to do for you? And that's mostly a young team. Where I think Lynch could be most helpful is providing a leadership role to a team that is still relatively young at a lot of skill positions. But, man, I mean, if you're talking about having this guy be your bell cow back, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it at all. Big name. Okay, that's fine. I mean, whatever. But it's not like he played a career that wasn't a rough and tumble career. He's got a lot of mileage on those tires.
Yeah, I mean, you got Monique Watson there, you got Austin Howard, but like you said, how can these guys going to step in and help out the cause? You got Marshawn Lynch for a reason. I think the Raiders get him for maybe 2 to 3 years tops, if that. And you're talking about a runner that just is not an outside speed guy. He's just a barreling overpower your runner. So it's going to be interesting. I know the Raiders are close to competing, and they really wanted that extra push to get them over the edge. Is Marshawn Lynch the answer? I don't know. I think it's kind of a good move if you don't have to go up a lot for him. Like you said, compensation, this and that. Yeah, you try it for a year. You see what happens.
It's counterproductive if you're counting on him. You better go find a free agent. You better go find somebody in the draft.
Yeah.
Because, again, 31-year-old running backs in the NFL normally don't do a whole lot for you.
Yeah. And excuse my point with the running backs they have. I met Tywan Jones. I'm looking at the tight ends. Tywan Jones, DeAndre Washington, and Jalen Richard. But again, these guys aren't name brand guys. They're going to have to get into the system. They're going to have to learn the system and to be an all-purpose back. So
the Raiders will go as far as Derek Carr takes them. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's put that out there right
this
now.
Year hurt him, took him out for the year. Yep.
And again, I mean, obviously the Raiders are in a bit of flux right now. This whole move to Vegas and everything, and maybe Maybe this is just something to kind of keep the Oakland fans on board for.
I don't think he'll be there when they go to Vegas.
I don't either, but he's from Oakland, right? Yeah. So maybe this is something to kind of like, because we don't know what that's going to be like playing in Oakland, however long they're still going to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they going to really draw when this team is leaving? Right?
I agree.
So maybe this is just like a bone to keep the fans from revolting or something, but
we'll see.
On the field, I'm not a fan.
I think it could work out, but we will see. And the other news of the news and notes section is the unfortunate passing of Dan Rooney. Pittsburgh great. Brian, run down a little bit of him, man. He's got a definite resume. He's definitely, you talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's talk about that right away. Here's a team that's only had 3 coaches in their almost entire history as a team. I mean, that's impressive. The Italian evaluation is just phenomenal. This is a team that let Emmanuel Sanders go, where Emmanuel Sanders was at the top of his game. Who steps in? Antonio Brown. So, here's a team that knows how to bring in talent and knows that getting rid of a guy doesn't mean that, okay, we have to rebuild. We just reload. I mean, let's go into Dan Rooney.
The Steelers have as many coaches in their history as the Browns have in 3 years. It's amazing, right?
Amazing.
I mean, listen, the resume here is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. It made the Football Hall of Fame in 2000. Won 6 Super Bowls, 6 Super Bowls, 8 times AFC champion. I mean, the model of, what NFL franchises aspire to be. It's a great loss for the league. One thing he'll be remembered for, obviously, is the Rooney Rule, where NFL teams have to interview at least one minority candidate for head coach.
Yeah.
You can discuss, the merits of that and whatnot. I think his heart was in the right place in pushing that forward, so I'm not going to, discuss that a whole lot.
It was an old school mentality, but I'm not a big fan of that. Well, that's a whole other episode. We can get into that.
Right. But
for what Dan Rooney meant to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, it's
a giant in NFL history. The NFL's not as good today as it was when Mr. Rooney was alive.
And make no bones about it. Art Rooney, when he before he passed away, these children of his, Dan Rooney, namely, never just was handed and said, "Here." He had to earn this coming up. He had to do his due diligence. He had to come through the ranks, and he wasn't just handed on a silver platter. He had to work for that title, and he earned the spot that he had on the Steelers. I mean, make no bones about it. It wasn't like, okay, my son's going to be this and that. Here, he worked hard for that, and a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans are in mourning today because the guy was a great man.
Yep, absolutely. So the New Orleans Saints, they're linked to a couple of running backs. If you're Mark Ingram right now, what are you thinking, right?
I think you got to get traded or get released.
They've been linked.
Second year.
Yeah, they've been linked to Adrian Peterson, who's been down there talking about, we talked about, running backs that are older in age.
I don't see that, though.
I mean, they've been linked to Christian McCaffrey possibly in the draft.
So is everybody else in the league.
That would be kind of high.
Our top 15 people in the league have been linked to Christian McCaffrey, so.
To me, Mike, we talk, how many times over the season did we talk about how bad the offense is the defense is for the New Orleans Saints?
You knew they were going to hit a wall at some point, and Drew Brees is at that point where, okay, well, now you got to draft for a quarterback. You haven't done that in the past. You haven't done anything to address the quarterback position now. You brought Chase Daniel back, big deal. So, here's a Saints team that was high and mighty, flying along with their offense and not worrying about their defense because they were outscoring everybody. Well, again, we talked about it, Brian. They hit the wall. I mean, we're going to talk about the Saints as the season goes along, but I'm sure our affiliate James down in New Orleans is going to say the same thing. This team offensively has really become stagnant, and now their defense still is not as aggressive or good as they want to be. They brought in Bird, and he hasn't been the same player from the Buffalo Facts, but I don't know what to say about the Saints.
They have 2 first-round picks. I think
gotta go defense.
If it were me. If it were me, and of course I don't work for the New Orleans Saints, I'd be trading down from 11. I'd be accumulating picks, and I'd be addressing my defense. I really.
Or I think you try to stay at one of the picks and get a cornerback, and then the second pick you maybe move down. But you got to start somewhere with this defense.
But like the Eagles, where we believe they need to go corner in the draft,
they got to go corner.
Because the position is so deep in this draft. You go with quantity. I think that you can trade down from 11. And accumulate more picks and still get a value guy at whatever you trade down from. And when you have so many holes, that's where I think the quantity can be helpful.
Well, I will tell you this: if the 11th pick comes around and O.J. Howard is there, the tight end, out of bounds, I think you just got to jump on him for New Orleans Saints. So I think they have had a hole there since they got rid of Graham. And Graham was a difference in the locker room. I think he needed to change the scenery, which wasn't the place for him. And before that, they had a guy since Jeremy Shockey. So you got to get a tight end there, and this guy is a stud tight end. He is ready to go. This could preserve maybe a couple more years of Drew Brees' career, dumping off to O.J. Howard, until you get that quarterback in there to do something that they validly need. Now, or number 11, do you spend on a quarterback? Deshaun Watson is there. Do you go Deshaun Watson? Because this team needs a quarterback. As much as people love Drew Brees, he is on the downside of his career, so it's going to be interesting.
What I feel, though, is if you address the defense now, then if you then draft one in a year or two, that now all of a sudden you're kind of bringing them up together?
It's not a secret that defense wins Super Bowls. So you got to go defense eventually, and you got to get this team. You can't go to the old New Orleans Saints where they threw the ball, he threw for 4,000 or 5,000 yards a year, and they just outscore people. You can't do that anymore. You got to go defense. You got to slow some people down. So
absolutely,
I agree with what you're saying.
Couple more news and notes, but first let's get to today's sponsor.
If you're looking to make solar simple, give Ron Domenico with AD Energy a call. All-day energy made simple. Solar solutions with 0 down, options to lease or finance, and roofs and trees are no issue. Call Ron Domenico at 609-226-2802 and tell him you saw him on the Sports Box.
Thank you very much. Make sure you give Ron a call. We love Ron.
You love Ron. I don't know. I like Ron.
Ron's the man. Interesting news out of St. Louis. So St. Louis is suing the NFL for $1 billion over the Rams moving to LA.
A little late, isn't it? That you're doing that now?
Are you trying to get them back?
I don't know what the point is.
Let me tell you what. So I remember this vividly.
It's not even a football team.
I was in St. Louis for business, and they had a Monday night game against Seattle. And I wasn't going to go to the game, but I was just curious. The NFL tickets, especially where we are in the Philadelphia area. I mean, listen, I'm not an Eagles fan. I don't claim to be, and everybody knows me, knows that I'm far from it. But I will respect their fan base for their passion and how much they love that team. You're not going to go find cheap tickets to an Eagles game ever, preseason included. This night, where St. Louis was hosting the Seattle Seahawks, you could have gotten tickets to that dome for $6.
It's not a football town. As much as St. Louis, as much as they were there, and as much as there were teams playing there, the fastest show on turf, they're not a football town. They are a baseball town. The Cardinals have been around forever. The Cardinals are winning world championships. It is a baseball town. Brian Lee can tell you that from going there. It's not a football town.
Yeah.
And for them to even do this now, when they've already moved to LA, how about where was this a couple years ago? We were thinking about moving to LA. Now all of a sudden they moved up. Wait, we got to sue them. For what? Like you said, they're not coming back.
What's next? San Diego going to sue?
Oh,
Is Oakland getting their legal papers? I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here. I really don't. But whatever. Whatever. Again, I think this is frivolous. I think it's just, hey, we're politicians. We're going to do something.
Yeah.
This episode of the Sports Box is brought to you by Mic'd Up Entertainment and DJ Mike Velardi. For all of your event planning needs, make sure you contact Mike at 609-864-5925 and tell him that you saw him on the Sports Box.
1, 2, 3.
Don't forget to subscribe.